I really like this one. So she's using a lot of falsetto in the lows. And if you don't practice that, that can be something that's pretty tricky. So, you know, everyone uses falsetto, they go high, that's cool too, but can you use falsetto going down? Right? And then give it color, right? I'm barely getting away with that. I'm just barely squeaking out those notes. And she's got a lot of control and a lot of tone quality as she descends using falsetto. You hear that breathy tone? She's mixing in falsetto in her low range. She goes right into a belt. And this is actually a really clever thing to do. When you belt, you don't want to have a lot of air at all. You just really don't want to do that to yourself. And so what she's doing here is she's using falsetto, which leaks air. So she can take a big inhale, do a bunch of falsetto runs, and then when she's kind of out of breath, she can go for that belt where it's safe. Pretty clever. Ooh, damn. Okay, there's a lot of really cool things to break down here. So you can actually see her cricoid cartilage tilt. It's really cool. When your cricoid cartilage tilts, you can see the base of the neck kind of grow. Well, let me see if I can do it. I'm not used to belting just yet. Yeah, you can even see it, right? So watch her cricoid cartilage tilt here. Okay. And then immediately when she stops, boom, it comes right back into a neutral position. So she is going for this crazy hardcore belt. She's doing it on different vowels, which is really cool. So the pitch is changing and she's switching vowels. Makes it sound really epic, and it's a super high belt. Requires a lot of good technique. So not only does she have perfect breath control, because otherwise, you know, belting can be dangerous, but she's also tilting her neck back, and that actually helps with the cricoid tilt. The cricoid cartilage being like kind of, again, at the base of the neck. Run right here. So same thing, right? Cricoid cartilage tilt goes into the belt. What's really cool about this one is that she then goes into a neutral larynx, very, very little breath, and then does this really cool run downwards. Let's hear it again. Let's go! Oops. Go back a little bit. So that's a pretty slick run downwards. And again, the theme here is not a lot of air. She can only get away with this and only do it because she doesn't have a lot of air in her body right now. So very impressive breath control. Set of runs that are really intricate and tricky. Right, she's bringing that falsetto down. And you might say that that's a mix. And in reality, both terms can be kind of deceptive. Falsetto, pure falsetto, is when your folds flip up completely open. Right, no sound, no tone. That's like a little bit of a flute sound. Mix is what happens when there's some closure in the folds, but some open space. So when we say falsetto or mixed, we're not really doing justice to what's actually happening with the vocal folds. You can hear there's some vocal closure in here. And even better, she starts with an aspirate. Who? When you start with an aspirate, you're basically doing this to your folds. They're going to go up, and then they're going to close approximately just so, like, provided you're not doing anything crazy. An aspirate's a really, really good, great way even to get comfortable with notes that might otherwise be very difficult. So smart stuff here. Let's take another listen. She's also using different vowels. A run can get very stale and boring if you don't give it rhythmic emphasis. So watch how she gives certain notes a little bit more oomph and even changes the vowels on certain notes in order to shape the phrase. Right? And then goes right up into a belt. And that takes a lot of coordination, right? You're flipping, your larynx is neutral, ooh, right? And then immediately cricoid tilt, boom, going up to the top. And I think, again, one of the cool tricks that's allowing her to do this is spending a lot of air on these falsetto runs and then going up into those belts, which is, again, takes very little air. Very impressive. So one of the things that is consistent in a lot of artists is that they'll have different patterns, different runs and different patterns. This is very common for guitar players who call it licks, right? Like, right? So if you're trying to learn to improvise runs, it's really nice to have these scalar patterns, right? Ooh, something like that. And then you can throw it in there whenever you kind of want to do runs. So you can hear the pattern here that she's choosing. Very similar pattern. That light, breathy tone really helps do these quick runs. So when you're doing runs, you want your folds to be very thin so that they can move really quick. Put too much breath behind that, put too much force behind that. If you have a lot of tension, they can get too fat and then they get kind of clumsy. It's great for certain things, like belting specifically. You actually get very, very thick, fat folds. It's why it's so loud. That's why there's no such thing as a quiet belt and why belting is so powerful and epic sounding. But when you want to do runs, you need these thin folds. And I highly recommend practicing falsetto in your lower range. You can hear how seamless she is in doing that.